coming!
Perfect. Really?
No. Again!
Who are you?
I'm Li Shan. I'm looking for my son.
You lost your son?
Yes, many years ago.
In 2016, the Kung Fu Panda saga returned at a moment when the franchise had already proven itself as one of the most emotionally rich and visually inventive animated series in modern cinema. Kung Fu Panda 3 arrives with a sense of confidence, fully aware of the journey its hero has taken so far. Po is no longer the accidental dragon warrior or the student still struggling with inner demons from his past. He stands as a recognized protector of the Valley of Peace, admired by villagers, respected by masters, and loved by his friends. Yet, despite this growth, the film smartly understands that Po's story is far from complete. His external victories have not yet translated into full inner balance, and this gap becomes the emotional core of the film. The story opens by re-establishing the harmony that now defines Po's life. His days are filled with heroic duties, playful banter with the Furious Five, and his role as the Dragon Warrior feels natural rather than forced. There is a lightness to this phase of the film, using humor and rhythm to remind the audience how far Po has come. At the same time, subtle hints suggest that Po is standing at a crossroads. Master Shifu pushes him toward a new responsibility, encouraging him to step into the role of teacher rather than student. This idea unsettles Po deeply. Teaching requires clarity, discipline, and confidence in one's own wisdom, and Po still sees himself as the enthusiastic fan who stumbled into greatness rather than someone qualified to guide others. Parallel to Po's peaceful world, the film introduces its central threat with a darker and more mythic tone. Kai emerges not simply as another physical enemy, but as a force tied directly to the spiritual history of Kung Fu. Unlike previous villains driven by conquest or revenge alone, Kai is fueled by obsession and a warped sense of justice. He believes he has been wronged by the very traditions he once served, and his power comes from defeating masters and stealing their chi. This supernatural angle expands the universe of Kung Fu Panda, pushing it beyond physical combat into the realm of spiritual consequence. Kai's presence immediately raises the stakes, as the danger he poses is not limited to the living world, but threatens the balance between realms. As Kai sweeps across China, defeating legendary kung fu masters with terrifying ease, the film reinforces the idea that raw strength and skill are no longer enough. The traditional methods that once worked against past enemies now feel insufficient. This narrative shift is crucial as it mirrors Po's own struggle. Just as Kung Fu itself must evolve, Po must also grow beyond what previously defined him. His role as Dragon Warrior now demands something deeper than bravery or improvisation. It requires understanding, acceptance, and the ability to inspire others. The emotional heart of the film arrives with the sudden reappearance of Po's biological father, Li Shan. This reunion is handled with a careful balance of humor and sincerity. Po, who believed his panda heritage was lost forever, is overwhelmed by the possibility of reconnecting with his roots. Li Shan, in contrast, is gentle, anxious, and deeply loving, having spent years believing his son was gone. Their relationship adds a new layer to Po's identity, introducing the idea that being the Dragon Warrior does not erase who he was before, but rather builds upon it. This rediscovery of family becomes a catalyst for Po's next stage of growth. The journey to the secret panda village marks a tonal shift in the film. Visually, it is one of the most vibrant and imaginative locations in the franchise, filled with lush landscapes and a sense of untouched joy. Narratively, it serves as a space where Po can exist without expectations. Among the pandas, he is not a legend or a warrior, but simply one of them. This contrast is powerful, as it allows Po to explore a version of himself unburdened by destiny. The pandas are playful, clumsy, and delightfully unskilled in martial arts, reflecting aspects of Po's own personality that he once saw as weaknesses. However, this paradise is not free from conflict. Po learns that his father has hidden the truth about Chi and the looming threat posed by Kai. This deception introduces tension into their relationship, challenging Po's idealized vision of his long-lost parent. Li Shan's fear-driven choices highlight a recurring theme of the film, the struggle between protection and trust. By trying to keep Po safe through avoidance, Li Shan inadvertently undermines Po's ability to fulfill his destiny. Their conflict is not rooted in malice, but in love complicated by fear, making it deeply relatable and emotionally grounded. Back in the Valley of Peace, Master Shifu and the Furious Five face the escalating threat of Kai with growing urgency. Their battles underscore the severity of the situation, as even the most skilled warriors are overwhelmed. These moments are not only action-driven, but emotionally heavy, emphasizing loss, sacrifice, and the limits of individual strength. The film uses these sequences to reinforce a central message. Heroism is no longer about one warrior standing alone, but about unity and shared purpose. Po's attempt to train the panda villagers becomes one of the film's most inventive narrative arcs. Initially, his approach mimics traditional kung fu instruction, leading to comedic failure. The pandas are uninterested, incapable, and entirely unsuited to rigid discipline. These scenes are humorous, but they also serve an important thematic purpose. Po is confronted with the realization that simply copying what he was taught will not work. True mastery requires adaptation and authenticity. This insight marks a turning point in Po's development as both a warrior and a leader. As Po begins to understand that Kung Fu is not a single rigid form, but an expression of individuality, the training evolves. Each panda's unique traits become strengths rather than obstacles. What was once chaos transforms into harmony through acceptance rather than control. This process mirrors Po's own journey throughout the trilogy, bringing his story full circle. He teaches not by abandoning who he is, but by embracing it fully and allowing others to do the same. The concept of Qi becomes increasingly central as the story progresses. Rather than presenting it as a vague, mystical force, the film frames Qi as a reflection of self-awareness and balance. Po's struggle to master Qi is not about learning a technique, but about understanding himself completely. This includes his past, his fears, his relationships, and his identity as both panda and dragon warrior. The film uses this internal struggle to elevate the final confrontation beyond a simple battle of strength. When Kai finally arrives at the panda village, the conflict reaches its emotional and visual peak. The once playful paradise becomes a battlefield, forcing the pandas to confront their fear and rise beyond their limitations. Po's leadership is tested under real pressure, and the lessons learned during training prove essential. The pandas fight not as perfect warriors, but as themselves, unified by trust in Po and in one another. This collective effort stands in direct opposition to Kai's philosophy of domination and isolation. The final confrontation between Po and Kai takes the story into the spiritual realm, visually distinguishing it from previous battles in the franchise. This setting reinforces the idea that the true conflict is not merely physical, but philosophical. Kai represents obsession, resentment, and the refusal to let go, while Po embodies acceptance, growth, and balance. Their clash becomes a symbolic struggle over the meaning of power itself. Po's victory does not come from overpowering Kai through force, but from embracing his role as a conduit of the Qi of others, transforming individual strength into shared harmony. Po's decision to sacrifice himself to protect others marks the culmination of his character arc. It is a moment of clarity where fear dissolves into purpose. This act is not portrayed as tragic, but as transcendent, reinforcing the film's optimistic worldview. Po's return, empowered by the collective chi of the pandas, serves as a reaffirmation of the franchise's belief in community, love, and self-acceptance. In the aftermath, the film takes time to reflect rather than rushing toward closure. Po returns home changed, no longer uncertain about his place in the world. His relationships with Master Shifu, his two fathers, and the Furious Five feel more balanced and mature. Teaching is no longer a burden, but a natural extension of who he is. This resolution emphasizes that growth is not about abandoning one's past, but integrating it into a stronger, more complete identity. Kung Fu Panda 3 stands out within the trilogy for its emphasis on belonging and legacy. While the first film focused on self-belief and the second on confronting trauma, the third explores the idea of purpose beyond the self. It asks what it truly means to be a master, a leader, and a family member. Through its blend of humor, action, and emotional sincerity, the film delivers a message that resonates across ages and cultures. Visually, the film continues the franchise's tradition of blending Eastern artistic influences with modern animation techniques. The contrast between the earthly landscapes and the spirit realm enhances the thematic divide between physical and spiritual conflict. The action sequences are dynamic without sacrificing clarity, and the quieter moments are given space to breathe, allowing emotional beats to land naturally. By the time the story concludes, Kung Fu Panda 3 feels less like an endpoint and more like a moment of fulfillment. Po's journey reaches a state of balance that feels earned rather than final. The film celebrates growth without denying struggle, humor without undermining emotion, and spectacle without losing meaning. It reinforces why this franchise has endured, not because of its jokes or action alone, but because of its commitment to telling a story about finding strength in who you truly are and sharing that strength with others.